We're starting. We're live. Woo! Good morning. It's Monday morning. Here we are. Yay! You made it, and so did we, as far as we can tell. So, as you can tell, I'm back in my little home office and back to the maybe real world. It's snowing and raining and pretty icky out there today, so maybe this will be the entire sum of our interaction of the world, and I'll go right back to bed after this. But welcome to Monday Momentum, our Momo. We're here to help you get your week started, and we've just, two of us anyway, have come back from the CEO Space International's December 2015 Business Growth Conference with lots of ideas and information to share with you. First, I'd love to have Linda say hi and James say hi, and then we'll dive into what was it like and what's going to happen next.
Good morning. Happy Monday Momentum. I am looking forward to hearing what happened at CEO Space because unfortunately I wasn't able to get there, but I will be there in March.
Woohoo, that's a good plan. All righty, James?
Good morning, good morning. I was sharing this morning that I had to beat my head with a pillow to wake my face up this morning. That's the one thing about being here is it can be quite exhausting by the time you get through, but it's great to be here and excited to sit in my little corner in my room here. It's my last day here. I'll be heading home today, so it was definitely a good forum. So.
Thank you, James. So, you know, James is still in his hotel at the Westin Lake, Las Vegas, where we had our conference, and so that's what he's referring to. And you do get really exhausted. There's so much going on, and I needed to come home yesterday, so I spent 9 hours driving. And, you know, probably as soon as we turn this puppy off, I'll go boom, because it really does wipe you out. And it's interesting how much it does when we're not doing all that much physically. It's all learning. It's all in your mind. All this information is coming, and it's exhausting. You really get tired, but you also get really invigorated, and you get lots of new ideas. So we wanted to spend some time telling you about it because when we were discussing it ahead of time, it seems as though kind of the general theme, at least for us as we participated, was a lot of information and ideas about becoming thought leaders and how to do that, and then the importance of doing that with an authentic voice. So the new tools and new information that we learned, and we wanted to spend some time talking about it, referring to some of the classes we went to and things like that. So, you know, one of the fun things that we did was we got to hear Hiram Smith talk. And Hiram Smith is one of the founders of Franklin Covey. I don't know how long ago he did that. Forgive me, Hiram. But he's been in the field of time management, which many of us would argue you can't really manage time, including him, and leadership development and personal growth for a long, long time. And he gave us a wonderful presentation, very funny, very dry, great, you know, using his face a lot to kind of make you go, huh? But he was actually sick the whole time. So he came in and he performed and he did what he had promised that he would do, and then, you know, he needed to leave because he was not feeling well. And it was an example for all of us of how you still do what you said you were going to do, and you do it to your best of your ability, and you do it in your style, because he has a very unique style, and you do it based on your beliefs and values. So I'm going to wave this book at you, which is Hiram's new book. It's called The Three Gaps. He was teaching us all about how to close the gap between where you are right now and what it is you want to be, and how to get there, because that's really all that growth is, and our life is nothing but growth. And one of those gaps is, you know, that you could have a gap is in your values. Are you doing what you say you want to be doing? Are you walking your talk, kind of? So I know, James, you had a little bit more you wanted to say about that, or I'm hoping you did, because I know Hiram had impact on you.
Yeah, no, he actually was pretty phenomenal considering he didn't feel well. I mean, I didn't know, and I don't think anybody in the audience really knew that he wasn't feeling well. I just had some insider knowledge as to that. But yeah, I think what he really was focused on was closing the gaps between your beliefs and your values. And do your beliefs do the beliefs that you have match the values that you have, and do the beliefs that you have get you where you want to be over time, or do they take you away from where you want to be over time? And so he talked a lot about some of the beliefs that we have that may seem innocuous for face value. Sometimes those are attitudes that we carry, or just snide little remarks we might make once in a while, but they reflect our beliefs. And if we continue to hold on to those beliefs over time, then they won't yield the values that we have, that we hold dear, or get us to where we want to be, or help us become who we want to be. And I felt like, going with this theme of authenticity, that the two kind of went hand in hand, because if we want to be considered authentic, if we want to come across as authentic, if we want people to respect us or listen to what we have to say, and yet we don't match that with an authenticity, then we might have their attention for a little while, but eventually you're not going to have that attention, you're not going to have that impact on those different aspects of business or life that you would like to, that you maybe have in your values. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading his new book, The Three Gaps, because he talks about bringing some clarity and closing the gap in your time, closing the gap in your beliefs, and closing the gaps in your values.
Great. And you just reminded me of the what can happen over time, which was a big emphasis of his. It wasn't so much, you might have a belief that causes you to set up some kind of rule, and that affects your behavior, and you just keep doing that, whatever it is. I mean, his example, one of them was, if you believe that dogs are dangerous, then you're always going to not, the rule is stay away from dogs because they're dangerous, and that might impact your life in all sorts of ways, and it may not be a big impact, but if you fall in love with a woman who trains dogs for a living, it might be a problem for you. So that's a belief and a rule that then impacts your results. But when you were talking about the idea of authenticity and how, sometimes we feel as though we need to act a certain way or be a certain whatever in order to grow this business, or in order to get people to respond to us, in order to get people to buy from us, and so we fake it. And one of the things that Eve Hogan, who is the great sort of personal trainer that we have, who talks a lot about relationship skills and your own skills within yourself, in your family, and other relationships, but also in your business. She talks about how you decide that, in order to win sales, I need to act a certain way, and it's not authentic. It's not truly you. And what happens is you move farther and farther away from your own self. And so whatever people are responding to is this person over here, but it's not Sarah, it's something else, and you feel lousy because of it. And it's not sustainable, like you were just saying, James. You just can't keep it going forever, and why bother? Because if you're authentic and living in alignment with your values, you can get the sales that you want, you can attract the customers that you want, that best resonate with you. But we can fall into these traps where we think we have to act like that person over there because they're successful and that's what I want, so I better dress like them, talk like them, be like them, and it doesn't serve us over time.
Or say the things they're saying when we don't necessarily have a foundation in those principles. We might have a belief in those principles, but if we don't have a foundation in those principles, those things that we're saying are based off of a belief that they might be true, or hopefully they're true, or we believe they're true. But if we don't really have a foundation in them, then we're really just preaching an idea or a concept, and people are going to feel even if it's just a sliver of unauthentic, an unauthentic vibe, if you will, that's going to hurt us. So it's important to listen to those principles and to absorb those principles and try to incorporate those principles in our lives. But we also have to make them, and we have to try them, and we have to apply them in our lives so that they will become authentic, and we have our own authenticity in them, so that when we're talking about them, when we're regurgitating, if you will, those things that we've heard, those principles, those ideas, those values, then they're once again coming from an authentic place, and that's what's going to help people transition through whatever it is that they're going through, or whatever it is that you're providing as a product service is going to be something that's going to be attractive or considered valuable.
Great. So basically, I think for us anyway, the overarching message in terms of thought leadership from Hiram's talk is, if you're going to become a thought leader, if you truly want to be that, you've got to be authentic, and you have to identify what your beliefs are, and are they serving you? Is it time to maybe take a second look at the ones that aren't, and then walk your talk? So I'm wondering, Linda, do you have any questions or ideas about thought leadership, this sort of general topic that was pervasive at our conference?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I'm interested to hear about the other sessions.
Okay, great. Well, you know, we had amazing teachers, and you know, last week we read the list of all the teachers to you, and I could probably dig the list up again right now if you wanted to hear it. But one of them that I was very impressed by this time, in regards to the same idea of authenticity, was Karen Leland, and she was speaking in general about marketing and your voice out there in the market, and in particular, you guys know that I have been working a lot doing editing. I have my new book too, yay! I do a lot of editing, and she was speaking about the difference between self-published books and traditional publishing, and why you might go one route or the other. And there's positives and negatives to both. There's no answer like you must do, you know, self-publishing. It depends on many factors. But one of the things that she said that I just wanted to stand up and cheer, and I'm going to read it to you if I can find it, because I know I have it here somewhere, was, let's see, come on. The self-published book has to have the same quality as a published book if you want to use it to drive business to you and your website. So that's the reason I'm cheering about that, is because I've seen many self-published books coming out where people, yay, are writing a book, because there's a huge impact to writing a book. It's good to write a book. People respect you more. People are like, wow, that's an author. This is a person who has some authority. This is a person who is a thought leader, because that's what books help us. I mean, that's what we believe about authors as a society. So when you've written a book, that helps support your brand and support you as that kind of a leader. But if somebody opens your book and there's a million typos, they're going to maybe not think so highly of you anymore. And unfortunately, because it's so easy to publish a book on your own now, that seems to be one of the things that gets overlooked a lot of the time. And that's the thing that drives me crazy. So when she said, you know, you really, just because you're self-publishing doesn't mean that you're not going to make sure that you put out the absolute best product you can, including making sure it's readable, that made my little heart dance, because that's what I've been saying too. So it's another little plug for, yes, be authentic, be you, get your message out, but make sure that it doesn't, the underlying message isn't, I don't care enough to make sure that the words are spelled correctly, because that's not going to help you in your business. So I don't know, did you see Karen Leland ever, James?
No, I didn't, but that really kind of also segues into a lot of what Cheryl Snap Connor was talking about. Cheryl is a PR, a public relations professional up in Salt Lake, and one of the things that she was saying, and you're right, when it comes to writing, whether it's writing a book or publishing articles on the internet, it's about building rapport. It's about establishing your voice or your professional expertise, and it is where we're headed in today's fast-paced, digitalized relationship kind of mindset, where opportunities to get to know your customers or your clients or your audience, if you will, is becoming more and more difficult because we're so digitally plugged in that if you're not digitally plugged in, if you're not visible or in front of others from that perspective, then it's going to be hard for them to judge whether or not you have the expertise or the background or the knowledge to help them in whatever it is that they're looking to accomplish. And the one thing that she focused on is that right now you don't have to be considered uber articulate or perfectly, wording your sentences. That authenticity right now is being measured a lot higher on the scale than being accurate in the way you write. But what she said was those days are numbered, and we're coming into a time where that is going to be, it doesn't matter how authentic you are, if you're not articulating those principles or those words in a well enough, it's gonna harm you more than it's gonna help you. And she mentioned an article that she published, and I couldn't remember if it was on Forbes or if it was on, I think it was on Forbes. She published an article called 3 Ways to Rock the World, publishing on LinkedIn. And for me, that's a precursor to writing a book. It's a perfect way, just like these Hangouts have been great for us individually to exercise that skill and that comfort in doing a Hangout, so that we can continue to grow this aspect of our businesses. Writing articles and submitting articles is going to be one of the most important ways that you can build rapport, establish yourself as an expert, and start to have that voice of influence. So yeah, I miss Karen Leland, but that was definitely the overall theme throughout the forum, is establishing your voice, establishing rapport, establishing your expertise, and being authentic in it.
Yeah, I agree. Linda?
You guys talk about, books and publishing in books and being authentic. One thing about publishing on the internet, it's so much easier these days to be able to get your message out there. But the important thing is, when you put it out there, it does live forever. So if you are not articulating properly, if you are not spelling things properly, if you are not focused in what you're doing, and you're ranting and you're raving about things that could come back and haunt you in years to come, I just say exercise a little bit of caution on that. Be authentic, but sometimes it's too much information what you might be putting out there. So. Well,
yeah. You need to remember it's going to be there forever.
Absolutely.
And as long as you're not, as long as you aren't ranting and saying things that you might be embarrassed about, plenty of people that have established a very high level of professionalism or expertise, and I think of Tony Robbins, for instance. If you and I sat back and watched some of the very first videos that Tony Robbins put out 20+ years ago, they wouldn't resonate with us the same way as that Tony Robbins we've come to know and love today. So, but that also has helped him establish that authentic trail, if you will. So I agree with you 100%. You want to be as fastidious as you can be in that process, but don't let your fear of the articulation hold you back as much as the fear of saying something stupid or erroneous or offensive. I think if you stay away from those, then you can start to create that authentic voice, because then you're really coming from an authentic place.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh no! If you wait until you can write perfectly, if I do, I know I will never write.
Yes, perfectly. This is I mean, what you said a minute ago of the authentic trail of Tony Robbins, I just thought, okay, well, that's what we're doing here. You know, that's Sarah anyway. This is my authentic trail, and I saved the very first Hangout that I ever did. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not available on the channel. It's private, but I saved it just so that the person I did it with and anyone else, we could go back a year later and look at it and go, okay, how are we doing? And so it's great. The authentic trail is something I don't have any problem with leaving behind so far. And I'm excited to see where we'll be in a few more years. If Tony Robbins is the standard and we're going to be right next to that, that's okay by me. So I just wanted to add, you know, all of those things that you said about you know, once you put it on the internet, it's there forever. So make sure it's something you wouldn't mind your great-grandchildren seeing about you, and celebrate the fact that, because, at least for me, all of these little pieces of information that came to me during the forum, I just basically started a whole new service, which is, you know, you don't need to wait until you've written a book to hire an editor or a proofreader. And in fact, you shouldn't, maybe, because if you are writing blog posts, if you're writing any kind of marketing materials, if you have things you're handing to people at various events, as like received many of, and you're not making sure that they're written well, that's crazy. So you can find me, and I'll do up to 1,000 words a month of anything, your love letters, I don't care what they are, for $25 a month. Because why wait till you write a book? You want to look good, and you need to get your stuff out there now. And you're not an editor, maybe, but I am. So yay, track me down.
Well, and that's what, and Cheryl Snap spent quite a bit of time on that, in the respect of it used to be that having a ghost writer was okay and acceptable, and but a ghost writer is not going to be able to carry that authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you write from that authentic voice, but you have a ghost editor, then that authentic voice can be maintained and also look and sound and feel, what's the word?
Professional enough.
Yeah, professional. Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's. I mean, I haven't ever experienced it. I've never hired a ghostwriter or an editor, but I know that there are people that have had experiences where, you know, they took everything I said, they interviewed me or whatever, and they turned it into something that is I don't recognize. It's not me. That's not what I was trying to do at all. And they might have spent a big chunk of money to do that, and now they're, you know, that was their big investment. They don't have any more money to clean it up. Or with an editor, you can have an editor that really changes your book, and you may not want them to. I mean, sometimes that's exactly what you need, because your book is not perfect, and you can be quite happy when somebody rearranges it and really puts it into a new form for you. But you can also lose your voice and lose your message because they misunderstood and they did what they thought. And so I love the idea of this ghost editor, just coming in and tweaking a little bit, and you're still speaking in your voice, but we're just making sure that you knew that that word actually is not the word you wanted. It's this one instead, and things like that. Any other little...
It's the difference between fastidious and fastidious.
Fastidious, yes. Yeah, and so you know there's a word out there, and that's what I'm here for.
Well, I can guarantee you absolutely it's going to be recorded in history here that anything I do, I will definitely be sending over to you. I have seen you just skim something and see what mistakes were made. So you definitely have a knack for that and a gift for that. So.
Well, and I think it's just an eye. I mean, I never thought of it as anything. I never thought of it as a business until I realized how many books. I mean, there's books back here I could find for you that have been written, that I bought at CEO Space and I've read, and I'm like, wow, did you know you have these errors in your book? And some people don't care, but they should. I think they should, because
if Cheryl is right in her prediction, then absolutely.
Yeah, there's this.
Yeah, sorry. There's one thing people ought to know when they are out there and they're working on their blogs, especially if they're in WordPress. Highly recommend, if they're not comfortable with their own language, to create a draft and have an editor come in, make a couple of tweaks, and then publish it instead of just going straight to publish it. So there's lots of ways of working to tweak things that have already been done, or to put your own words out there, but not hit the publish button till you're ready, till someone else has had a chance to take a look at it. So it's really easy to set up that way and to do. So highly recommend anyone that's not comfortable showing the world their work right away, hit the draft button instead of publish.
Well, I'm going to build on that because I had a marketing piece that I made to bring to CEO Space, Eagle Eye Editing, and I didn't have time to have anyone else look at it. And so if you're writing anything, I'm going to tell you, you should always have at least one other person look at it, no matter how amazing you think you are, because you sort of go blind. You can't see anymore. When you write it yourself, you need to have another pair of eyes. And if it's a book or something that's critical, 2 or 3 pairs of eyes, definitely. I would never say that I will find 100% of all your errors, because here's the proof. So I couldn't have anyone look at it. I had no time to have anyone look at it. And when it arrived, I was terrified to read it because I was afraid there was going to be an error in it. And here I am saying, hire me to edit for you. And sure enough, there's an error in it. But that's my story now. This is proof. You have to have someone else look at your stuff, even when you're an English major and all the things that I am. You can still make mistakes, and it's so important. And so in a way, it's a good thing, and it's certainly the truth, and it's authentic, and that's what we're trying to do. And we've been told that's a good thing to be doing. So yay, we got that right, or I did anyway.
Save for you, Sarah. Get yourself a nice marker, circle the typo.
Exactly, that's the plan.
Out there, and then when you pass it out, you can say, see?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's exactly the plan. Find some kind of marker that shows up on it and just say, here it is, here's the proof. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done, there's 2 things. I wish there was a space, and I wish there was a T in the word to.
Or you make a piece like that and say, can you find the errors?
Well, that was one of the, yeah, exactly. And it reminded me very much of Native Americans and when they, I mean, I'm not sure if it's every single tribe, but I know I've read this about weaving and about beadwork, that they basically deliberately, if they don't make a mistake while they're producing their art, they deliberately add a mistake in it because they believe that you know, who are you to say that you can make perfection? And it's similar to martial arts. There's nobody that has a 10th degree belt because nobody's perfect. Nobody can be perfect. There is always improvement that can be made. So that made me, feel a little bit like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't get to be perfect no matter what. But we can be closer to it. Anyways, we're out of time, you guys. So is there any last minute thing that Linda or James you'd like to add in? No? No, James says no.
I just wanted to give the floor to Linda there for a minute, and just I'm looking forward to driving home.
Oh boy.
My wife called me yesterday and said that my one son is expecting me to walk in the door with a Christmas tree over my shoulder, because we went up to the mountains to go get a Christmas tree last week, and we ended up in a survival for our lives experience. And so we didn't get a Christmas tree. We spent all of our time and energy getting off the mountain safely. But gonna be good to be home and see the kids, and I hope everybody has a wonderful week, wonderful Christmas, holiday, whatever it is that is important to you, valuable to you. Hug the ones you love, and just have a wonderful week.
Great. Linda?
I so got to hear about this story, but we are out of time.
Mm-hmm.
But sounds interesting. Happy holidays to everyone. Happy Monday Momentum. Hope you have an incredible week.
Thank you, Linda. So yes, we'll be checking out. Have a great set of holidays there. If Christmas is yours, Merry Christmas. And we can't guarantee 100% because who knows what might happen. Things change at times. But we have an amazing speaker, Dan Clark, who has agreed to be on our show, and we're hoping that'll be next Monday. That's the plan right now. And cross your fingers and show up, because he's wonderful, and it'll be really fun to have him here. If you want to find me, go to mymondaymomentum.com, and you can connect there. You can actually find all of us there, and there'll be more coming soon. Go have a great week, and go hug your families. Don't forget that they matter too. That business has got to grow, but this is also a special time of year. We'll see you next Monday. Thanks.